So how is everyone enjoying their first in-person Keep Austin Agile since 2019? Getting some double thumbs up over here. A lot of people are like, yeah, it's about darn time. Did you all miss one another? Hey, Jorge.
Some, not all.
Yeah, that's like, not everybody. Some of them I was glad to not see for a few years. Yeah, we all get that a little bit too. Huh. So everyone, full fun fact. This is my first in-person speaking event since Keep Austin Agile 2019. All right, I've been doing lots of speaking over the past 3 years, but virtually. So this is the first time where I've actually been in a room with people and doing this sort of thing in 3 years. So we'll see how it goes, and I'm betting you probably have heard that from pretty much every speaker you've heard today, is we're all like trying to remember how to do this live and in person, right? Yeah. Well, I appreciate your grace, and I appreciate you laughing at Ned's jokes, too, because Ned might tell some later. Ned's like, I'm off to a roaring start. Okay, we're good to go? All right, so this is monkey business, responsibility, boundaries, and how to hold the line. So my name is Erin Randall, and I am, well, the only person at Admiliora Coaching. And I've been told many times that people are like, how in the world do you say that name? It's Admiliora, and it simply means to better things. All right? So pull on forward if you don't mind, Chase. So the outcomes that we're looking for today. Number 1, learn to spot the monkey and how to not pick that monkey up. Number 2, discover how systemic roles and boundaries support a system. And 3, step into Avery's responsibility process and your relationship to responsibility, okay? All right, so that's what we're really going to be talking about today, just giving you a bit of context there. Okay, Chase. So this is me, and I've been using this.
I think we're having an echo on the. It was off. Can we try that?
Test, test.
Chat folks, we're counting on you. Okay.
We're better? Oh, okay. Nice. There's people on chat, too. That's new. Okay. Life goal of mine is to hike on every continent, ideally with Patrick Stewart. For those of you that do know me in real life, I would still love to marry Patrick Stewart, even though I know he's on wife, 3 or 4 at this point. I don't care. I would still just like to marry Patrick Stewart one day. So if anybody has an in, I'd be deeply grateful. Okay. I have lots of initials, and if anybody is ever curious about initials, I'm more than happy to talk you through them, but it just means that I spend a lot of time studying and practicing the practice of coaching, be it agile coaching, deep one-on-one work, doing organizational work and the like, okay? Happy to talk you through that, but I'm also not going to bore you to death on it. We have agile coaching circles, and these are a free virtual space for you to practice the craft of agile coaching, okay? We have 5, one's for North America friendly time zones, Europe, Africa, and both coasts of Australia. So if any of you are coaches out there and you are looking for some practice, we have a main teaching room, but we'll also send people off to breakout rooms to practice and get feedback on that work there, okay? We simply noticed that out in the community, we needed a place for people to practice and get feedback, and that's what that is. And lastly, I do a lot of organizational work. In fact, that's where I spend most of my time these days, is working with organizations, but also with the people in those organizations. And it's because I want to help you improve and to find that inner amazing, okay? All right, Chase. Who's got the monkey? All right. Anybody ever read that great William Onken article called Time Management, Who's Got the Monkey? That old HBR article? Ned's raising his hand. Jorge's raising his hand. Okay. Ned, any chance you want to give us the synopsis of that article?
I could try, but it basically says before you take on a problem, make sure it's actually yours.
Making certain it's yours. Jorge, what might you want to add?
I will say that the monkey will sneak on you without knowing.
The monkey will leap to you without actually knowing. All right. So one of the things that I'm often, when I first start doing systems entry with a new organization, a new client, is I give them this article. All right. Yes, it is an older article, but it is still one of the most widely published Harvard Business Review articles that is out there. And the reason is because number one, is I want some common language within this organization, with me as a coach, and working with that so we can talk about it. All right, but this article, in a nutshell, you have a manager, and he's coming in, and he's got all of these direct reports, and they're coming to him with their problems and the like. He's like, oh, let me think about that, and I'll get back to you. All right, then he's trying to, do something on the weekend, and he's noticing that all of these direct reports, they're out playing golf. Okay, meanwhile, he's in the office trying to do a lot of work. All right, so in other words, all of the things that were their responsibility had suddenly shifted from them over to him. All right, and he's like, whoa, what's going on there? So this article, what I love about it is it calls it out. It's saying, hey, did you see the responsibility that was someone else's to do, how it shifted from them to you? Okay, how do you need to care it so that someone else, that problem stays with them, and you are not picking up or adopting monkeys, okay? The last time I checked, every single person I know, you have more than enough work to do. You don't need to go around going, hey, you know what, I can go ahead and do that for you. Between family, home, work that you're trying to do, side hustles, things that you're interested in, you have enough, okay? And so this is really helping to call out where that workflow is and helping you to determine what is important, all right? So this is, like I said, an older article. So it's going to feel a little bit sexist sometimes, and I call that out with clients. It's also, everyone in this article is male. All right, and the last time I checked, these were not our organizations. Okay? I like this article, though, because it is so clear. It is pithy. It is succinct. All right, and it's calling out, it says helpful things like, unattended monkeys should be unattended monkeys should be fed or they should be shot. Okay? Full transparency, I like monkeys, okay? I have nothing against monkeys, the actual animals. This is not a PETA conversation, all right? But if that work, it either needs to be attended to and cared for, or it needs to be let go. So I know that I'm making an impact with an organization when I hear someone say, hey, why are we gonna pick up that monkey? Or don't pick up that monkey. That's not ours. That doesn't stay with us. Okay, is that kind of landing with people, giving you a little bit of that vernacular there? So you're also going to watch me. I don't have any words on my slides for the most part, but remember the part where I said that I get to touch this. I need notes sometimes. Okay, it's been a little while since I've done this. All right. This is also an interactive talk, everyone. So I'm going to ask questions of you, and I hope that you respond. All right? Because I need that live feedback from all of you to know what's relevant for you, for what's landing, for what's not, if I need to shift on the fly and see what's there and the like. Okay? So, how are the monkeys landing? What do monkeys look like in your organizations, in your life? How many people are wanting a monkey? Can you say that a little bit more loudly, Kay?
Some of the monkeys that live in my organization don't know about the other monkeys that live in their organization.
Ah. So it sounds like your organization doesn't just have monkeys, it might have entire zoos and zoo habitats. Ah. Yeah, and you're like, okay, there's a lot of different monkeys going on, all right? What happens when you pick up too many monkeys? You get what?
Squished.
You get squished? What else?
Some monkeys are going to starve, others might be flourishing.
Some monkeys starve, some monkeys flourish. Ned?
You inherit their families.
Ah, yes, the primate kingdom comes along for the ride, doesn't it?
Once you own one, you own all the ones that look like it.
Ah, and what happens then?
Well, then you're overwhelmed and they get squished.
And then you're overwhelmed and you get squished and nothing gets done. Okay. How many people like too many monkeys?
That's an interesting question.
That's why I ask it. So now this is the part where you actually get to answer. You can only handle so many monkeys. You want to say anything else?
No, I'm just thinking about some coworkers
The largest monkeys of all.
Yeah, they will take all the monkeys that will come their way, and I like the analogy you just used. Like, if you take one, you take on the rest of the family that looks like that. Like, people will complain at work.
Yeah.
Why do they call me for this? It's like, because you signed up for it the first time.
Right. Okay. So make certain you high five Ned on the way out because Ned actually gave you that there. Ned's right there. All right. So the other day I was talking with an organization and they had had someone who sat in a particular location, and that person, that's the person that asked about weekends, that's the person that always made certain that somebody's birthday was celebrated. They knew when someone had a new baby, they had a new child, someone was going in for surgery. And that person left the company. And someone new came in and they sat in the same location as that person. What do you think happened? You're like, I don't know, I was looking up the answer. What do you think happened?
They inherited all the monkeys.
They inherited all the monkeys. They played a systemic role because that was the person, that was kind of, the traffic cop there in terms of like, hey, conversation, conduits, what's going on. And like, the person's like, why does everyone always tell me about their weekend? Like, I don't know anyone. But they were used to having that person, that role there in the system. Okay? All right, so how many people remember the movie Jurassic Park? The first one, the one back in the 90s. The original one. Okay. Do you remember the horrible scene, though, where they had the velociraptors? And they had that cow, and they'd like cordon off the velociraptors, all right? But those velociraptors, they were testing the fences, they were testing the boundaries. Yeah, because the velociraptors wanted in. They wanted to find different ways here because they're always going to be coming in and the like. How does that show up in the systems with which you work? How do those monkeys test those systemic boundaries? I'm going to complain until you respond. You're still thinking about monkeys, aren't you? Yeah. I'm going to complain until you respond. What else?
Go to your boss, go to somebody else, who they feel may have some power over you.
Oh, because I need you to pick up my monkey.
What about doing the least amount of work possible?
What about doing the least amount of work possible? Is that a question or is that something the monkeys might want you to do?
Just kind of thinking about your analogy about testing the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will do the bare minimum, I guess is a better word. Bare minimum of work just to see if I can get away with it. So if I'm the person who's thinking that way, I'm doing the bare minimum. Other people, monkeys, whatever you want to call them, have to take up the slack.
Ah. And how does it feel when you think about the other monkeys having to take up the slack?
So if I'm the person doing the bare minimum, I think, great, thank you. But if I'm the other person noticing that the other monkey is doing the bare minimum, it's not a very good deal.
So I have a very different kind of question then. What is the difference between being helpful and being useful? What is the difference between being helpful and being useful?
There is a very thin line between these two. We think we are being helpful or like we're being useful, and then like sometimes you get sucked into it and then you end up like helping and helping.
Helping and
We need to know when to come out of it.
can you say, we need to know when to come out of it. Okay? So I was hearing you say there's a very thin line between being helpful and being useful. And we keep helping and helping and helping and helping, and then we go too far. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Okay. How's that resonating with the group as a whole?
Well, isn't being helpful more proactive than being useful? And I can be useful, but I don't have to keep putting it to use.
Can you say that again, Chris? I want to make certain I got it.
In my mind, I would say helpful is being proactive.
Being helpful is being proactive.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I got that right. How did that land? Being helpful is being proactive.
I mean, the definition of helping is like lending your abilities to someone else, so that would make sense. If
you're being proactive.
Let's get you a microphone because so everyone, you're going to get a crash course in heavy enunciation and projection of your voice here today.
Yeah, I didn't feel like yelling. I mean, I do. Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying is the concept of helping someone is simply you lending your services or like aiding someone in doing something. Right? So if he says that it's you being proactive, you're making a conscious choice to do so. So that sounds about right. So that lands well and like perceptually to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The conscious choice. Okay. When you're thinking of the difference between being helpful and being useful, are you thinking about the monkeys that you currently already have possession of? You're shaking your head no, like you're like, dude, I got monkeys I don't even know about yet. Speak up. You're gonna.
Yeah, so if you have your own monkeys, right, that you're dealing with.
If you have your own monkeys that you're dealing with, right, you have a choice, right, to pass those along or deal with them, right?
Right.
And sometimes when you're helpful, you don't realize you just took on somebody else's
Yeah.
monkey.
And how does it feel to realize that you just inadvertently picked up someone else's monkey?
Probably foolish. Like, why did I let that happen?
That was a much more polite way of responding to that than I generally would, so well done you there.
Yeah.
Foolish, I just picked up someone else's monkey. Why do we want to be careful about what monkeys we pick up?
You may not have the experience or expertise to do it successfully.
Or the capacity. Okay? This is why we think about backlogs and refinement and how are things moving to the top of that backlog and the like. Okay?
When we see a pattern, sorry.
No, please.
When we see a pattern that this is like constantly happening, then that's when like we don't want to take anymore. But like when a situation comes and where no one else knows and like where you can be useful, then I think it's okay to step up and take that extra thing. But I think we have to make sure that we don't let that be a pattern because
Yeah.
you're taking more and more.
And I hear the word pattern come up there, and that feels like that's relevant and resonant. Is that what I'm picking up from the room here? Or Ned?
There's a servant leader issue here as well, which is that sometimes when you take the monkey, a very common monkey is, I don't have the training, I don't have the experience, I can't do this for one reason or another. And as a servant leader, your job is to help them get where they need to go and let them keep the monkey.
Yes. Okay. Everybody, Jorge.
Just had a metaphor in mind.
Hold on, wait for the microphone.
Had a metaphor in my mind. So if someone is drowning, asking for help, I can throw myself in and save that person by swimming and perhaps risks the chance of getting drowned. Or I can throw a floating device and I'm useful that way. Right?
So
if there's
putting on
like-
your oxygen mask first.
Yeah, so
Really
if-
wonderful metaphor right there, Jorge. Really wonderful. Hold on, let's get you a microphone right up here. That was really good. You know, it's realizing I can be helpful by diving in and going and picking up that monkey and like taking care of it. Or I can throw out a life preserver, a ring. Be like, okay, I was useful and did that. Okay, please.
Yeah, sometimes when you're trying to be helpful, it's important to see at until what point you are still useful. You shouldn't get carried away and be like, okay, I want to help, so I'm walking into areas that aren't my expertise, but I'm still gonna do it because I want to help. So someone else who has more experience could be more useful in that scenario. So it's important to hand the task off when.
Or no, kind of no. And so this is why when we start talking about monkeys, we're also going to be talking about boundaries, but also responsibility process. And hold on, let me migrate over here. I've gone way off target, don't worry. Let me migrate over here and remind myself what I was going to start talking about here. Okay. Personal boundaries. These generally are thought of as being respectful, clear, and consistent. Okay, yes?
Before we move on, did we get a clear definition of what the difference between the two were? Like,
Between useful and helpful?
Yeah, because we had a lot of.
We've got a lot of things going on there, okay? I do think Jorge's metaphor, probably for me at least, resonated most strongly. Jorge, do you want to repeat that metaphor again, just for the room as a whole? And let's test this then.
Sure, of course. So imagine someone is drowning and calling for help. So you can throw yourself in and swim all the way to try to save that person and perhaps risks drowning yourself in the process. Or you can be useful and throw a floating device to that person. Perhaps to go deeper in that metaphor, imagine two people drowning. You can be useful by throwing two devices and not trying to rescue them by swimming all the way there. So throwing yourself in to swim, that's being helpful. Throwing the device is being useful.
Okay.
I wanted to see if that resonated with you.
Yes.
Cover that answer.
Yes, that does resonate with me. Okay. And for the record, everyone, that's also more of a philosophical problem. It's kind of really pulling on the semantics of helpful versus useful. Okay? Because we're going to be talking about boundaries and also about responsibility process and kind of about finding out where everyone is with those. All right? And why it's important to have boundaries and when it's important to step into responsibility, to know when you might need to go swimming or you might need to throw a life ring. Okay? All right, we good? Because I'm going to go remember what I was talking about over here. Okay, ooh, it's going to go away here real quick. Okay, boundaries are not hesitant, punitive, or occasional. All right, does anybody remember the Brene Brown line around clear is kind, unclear is unkind? And Lonnie's nodding her head because she probably has that tattooed someplace. I know I probably should. Okay? What's important about knowing where your own boundaries are? What's important about knowing where your own boundaries are?
If you don't, other people will make them for you.
And what's scary about that?
Well, people will keep pushing because there's always this, everybody wants, there's a lot that can be done. Mm-hmm. And so if something needs to be done or someone thinks something needs to be done, they're going to go and be able to identify people who they think will just say yes. So there's a lot of yes people out there, and they know, oh, I can turn to this person because they're going to say yes and they're going to be able to get shit done.
By the way, I have an extreme get shit done. Like, I can move a lot of work through a system, okay? But that doesn't mean I need to pick that work up, okay? So remember we were talking about the velociraptors, the monkeys, they're going to test those systems because they want to leap from someone else's back over to yours, right? And they can really clog up your own system, right? And so this is why we sometimes talk with teams about choking a system, the workflow coming in. We want to be mindful of how many monkeys are coming into that system. All right, well, let's go back to boundaries for a little bit. What are some different examples or categories into which boundaries might fall? Time. Yes. What else? Huh. Energy. What else? Ability. Let's hear from this side of the room. This side's kind of quiet. Chris is like, I already spoke once, Erin. That was the limit.
Physical?
Physical? Yes. Emotional? Sexual? How many people thought they'd get to hear that work today at, now Agile Conference? Okay. Yeah, but why do we want to be really clear about where our boundaries are and where they are not? So yes, people won't test them. You've got that here and the like. It's also not knowing your own systems. Okay? Hey, I do want to take that in. That over there, that's really helping, to forward some of the things about which I care about which I'm passionate. Or like, no, that monkey is just someone else giving me stuff that they don't want to do. And it's not something that aligns with my own values that I want to actually get better at. Okay? How many people like thinking about boundaries? kind of, what do I talk about here? Oh, I did talk about this. We could talk about. How many people like talking about boundaries? What do you like about them?
Growing up in that environment where that wasn't a thing that we discussed often, it's like as an adult, it's a lot better to go back to my family now and just be kind of like, yo, we really didn't set clear boundaries or clearly define like how we would interact with one another.
Yeah.
And it shows. So it's fun now because it's like my parents are able to receive what you know I've been learning since I've been going to therapy and doing some of that work, and it transfers even to work now too. Some of the things we're mentioning, like, hey man, I'm gonna take off to come to this conference today. People are messaging me while we're here, like, hey, this thing went down. And I'm like,
Knock yourself out and picking it back up?
here, well, like the analogy is like, here's a lifesaver. Like,
Yeah.
I can point you in a direction, I'll go figure it out. Oh, can you hear me now? All right, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's all I had to say on
Yeah,
that.
good. Let's, wait, hold on, there's a microphone coming your way.
I don't think that boundaries are necessarily fun to talk about, but there's a lot of satisfaction in setting boundaries because it protects you from being taken advantage of. And once you set those boundaries and they're in place, you don't think about it, you don't worry about it. You gain a lot of control and power about your own outcomes by having them in place. So maybe not fun to talk about. Sometimes it's difficult, but I think the importance brings that
Yeah.
subject matter in a light that's easier to talk
Yeah.
about.
So everyone, I'll be honest, part of the impetus for this talk, I developed this over the summer, and I gave it in early August. It was virtually to a group in Scotland because I wanted a test ground for it to kind of think about some of the different things that were coming up for me. And some of you know me here, some of you don't. My parents live in very rural Montana. And for the past several years, I've been going up and I work remotely from there during the summer because we finally now have better Wi-Fi and I can work with my clients wherever I need to. My father was a practicing veterinarian for over 40 years, and he's also a pack rat. And so for the past 10 years, I've been asking my parents to start going through their stuff because it's a big house with barns and outbuildings and equipment and ranching and the like. And all I could see coming at me was all of this stuff. And as the oldest child, also the only daughter, I'll be honest, I don't see a lot of help coming from my brother. And so this summer I decided one way or the other, I'm gonna die on this hill. Either I die on it now and get rid of some of this stuff and at least it goes to where Dad wanted it to, or my parents are going to pass someday within the next 20 years or so, and as I'm trying to work through grief, I'm gonna be pissed as hell that I am shoveling out a house. And it's a big house with equipment and animals and everything. And clients were watching along over the summer because they were seeing I would roll in and they could see by what was happening in me. But they would also just see this old office. They're like, Erin, I see more wall space this time. Or it looks like you got rid of some of that stuff. And the thing is, where were my boundaries in this process? Okay, this was really hard, everybody. I mean, it was really hard. There was anger, there were tears, there was frustration, there was a lot of cursing. There was a lot of cursing. Okay, yes, your hand is up.
This may be culturally different. Where parents are concerned, there are no boundaries. Because if a parent has 7 children, they raised each one 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So each child has 100% responsibility towards parents. So if the anger is coming from, I expect that from my children.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I gave my 100%.
Yeah.
So if one child is angry because the other child is not doing,
Right,
the
my
child
brother-
has to examine themselves.
My brother was not present for any of this.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. I am hearing a little bit, there might be some cultural differences. I also need you all to know that I cashed in a lot of chips, both career-wise and emotion, because for 2 years, while my father had a stroke, I was also, in addition to being at IBM at that time, I also became a rural veterinary clinic. And I held up a family, I'm sorry? No, it's completely fine, okay? But where were my boundaries? Okay, I was way up in my parents' grill. They were way up in mine. What was right? What was wrong? What needed to happen? I picked up not only a monkey, I picked up an entire primate house of silverback gorillas in doing this work. Was it right? Was it wrong? Who knows? Needed to be done. I'm also mindful of time and that I've been yapping far more, and I need to get somewhat moving forward. So, about 13 minutes. Holy crap. Let's have the nice slide about the different examples of boundaries. The tape, that one. That one. Okay. I had planned to do this where you were voting with your feet. Okay? We have examples of rigid boundaries, porous boundaries, and healthy boundaries. Okay? And frankly, I've tap danced between all three areas in my life. And I'm curious, can you all read it? And by the way, this is the only slide that has a lot of words on it, I swear. Well, actually, the reference slide does have a lot of words on it, but this is the only one. Where do people see themselves in these boundaries? Chris? Okay, it depends on who I'm with. Depends on who I'm with, yeah. And what do you like then about knowing that you're in different places with different people?
Well, I would think that would probably be pretty safe for me.
Okay.
It's a defense mechanism for people that you don't know. You want to have more rigid boundaries, probably. With family, you can have, the kind of boundaries that are in the healthy column. And then for the folks in between, it's probably where you want to live.
Yeah. What's here for other people as they look at this? Where do they see themselves in terms of rigid, porous, and healthy? Hold on 1 second, we got to get you a microphone.
It also depends on the phase of the life you're in or the phase of the career you're in. Like at the start of the career, you're all into curious, you want to know and you want to pick up more, and you'll pick more. But like as you're more experienced, then like I think we might know where to draw the lines, and then we are rigid and like slowly
Where to draw
getting
the lines.
towards
Yeah.
healthy boundaries.
When we think about systems and how systems depend on roles for their execution of functions, how do systemic roles and boundaries, how do those play together? We're going to ask you, because we're going to project really hard. Did someone say they're relational? Okay, what does that mean for you?
So in a relationship, objectivity is out of question. And you have two subjective viewpoints. And so if it's a relation between a group of people or two groups of people, it's not to be right. It's to how can we solve this problem together?
Or how can we exist
Or how
together?
can we exist together?
By the way, everyone, my thinking is never fully formed on any of these topics. It's always being influenced by what is happening in the systems I work with, by what I'm reading, by what I'm practicing, by what I'm trying. Okay? So you're seeing me grapple with different things and seeing what's there. Okay? Does that make sense, or does that terrify people? Sometimes it does me. And I'm laughing about because now I'm thinking about monkeys and human and how we really are primates at some level, and it's like, yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping that by looking at this, people are, yes, seeing themselves in different roles, different parts of systems, seeing sometimes I might be more rigid, sometimes I am more porous, sometimes I just have healthy boundaries. Okay, but let's coming back to clear is kind and unclear is unkind, providing that clarity so people know where they are, okay, and you're consistent about them. Okay. All right, I want to get also to responsibility. So at least I get those three there because I have a great part about relationship that I was starting to think about last night. Okay. Has anyone ever read Christopher Avery's book on, oh, it's right there. Christopher Avery's book about the responsibility process? It's a behavioral science framework. Okay, 10 minutes, okay. If not, and it sounds like this is new for most of this room, I do highly recommend it, okay? I do find the more I work with systems and the people in them, my reading tends to fall more into behavioral science and thinking about what's there and testing things out and the like. So I do recommend this book. It's The Responsibility Process, Unlocking Your Natural Ability to Live and Lead with Power. Okay, just one of many books that I would ever recommend and the like. Okay, but thinking about this from the perspective of how people see how the responsibility works for them, and to do one of the following, okay, can keep them stuck where they are or to help them to move forward. Wait, no, go back up one, because I need those blocks. There we go. Okay. This is, by the way, everybody, this is Chase's and my first time doing this together, so we're working out the kinks too. Okay. Blame. How many people like blame?
I love it when it's not me.
Okay, so blame, we're holding others at fault for causing something that affects us. Okay, you didn't pick up my monkey, therefore it didn't get done. Well, that's your monkey, not mine. Okay, blaming someone else for not picking up your monkey. Okay, I'm giving the example here is I was angry with a coworker because I spent time researching their issue instead of focusing on my own work. Then I'm blaming them because I picked up their monkey. I gave my power away and I've stepped out of responsibility. Does that make sense? Yeah, blame. Okay, justification. Using excuses for things being the way that they are. Well, that's just the way that we do things around here. There's no changing that. Anyone ever heard that in an organization, in a system? I'm seeing this table back there is like, so one of you, sorry. Yeah. Excuses remove the responsibility from behavior, justifying that lack of ownership. All right. External forces, something out there, someone out there must change before I change. Okay. Justifying, again, I've removed myself from responsibility. Okay. Shame, my old friend. But don't you want to help me? You know, conscientious coworker, a nice colleague would. Okay, shame is a powerful motivator or demotivator. All right. Blaming oneself, guilt, that can get you down. Or I can remove myself from shame and pick up that monkey. I have a really interesting question here, but I don't think we'll have time to really go into it. How do gender roles and gender norms play into shame? Okay, when I think of my role this past summer in gutting out so much of my parents' house, how much of that was gender norm? How much of that was gender expectation? Okay. Obligation. I don't have a choice in this. I'm powerless. I'm only doing what I'm obligated to do. Okay. Yes, sometimes we do work that we are not enthusiastic about, or sometimes that we don't want to. But we can choose our mindset and how we approach that work. Responsibility is a choice, not an obligation. Okay. So the question I want to leave this slide with, and I've got about 5 minutes, I think. How can we step out of obligation into responsibility? And your mouth was like wide open, and I'm pretending like you were yawning, or you're like, oh. Sorry. It's okay. How can we step from obligation into responsibility? Ma'am. Hold on 1 second. Let's get you a microphone.
Whatever we are doing, even if we don't like it, we never in our own mind, if you turn that into, I call that my have tos, want tos.
Ah, have to and want to, yeah.
When I turn my have tos into want tos, that becomes mine.
That's changing the intent then. It's like, okay, I want to eat the broccoli, not I have to eat the broccoli. Okay, yeah. Other thoughts here? Because I want to, I had some new thoughts this morning. Hold on. We're getting there. Come to, it's, go down. We'll send you all the slides. There's quotes about self-reflection. I was thinking this morning because we're really talking about relationship systems, responsibility, boundaries. Our lives are relationships with ourselves, with one another. What kind of relationship do we want? And that's a real question, y'all. I'm hoping for. What kind of relationship do we want? Thoughts? Responses?
You're really good at running around with your phone.
She's excellent. That's Colleen. Can you speak, like, enunciate? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Going back to the previous question a little, I was thinking about the responsibility versus obligation.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times for myself, it's about saying no to myself. It's tempting to get many things, right? So it's not always just about the other person maybe putting something on my plate or me taking it out of obligation. It's because I want to do this and I want to do that, and some of it is like, because you want to add value, and there's a lot of good reasons for it, but it does in the end harm me and the other person. So I guess the kind of relationships I want to have are ones where I'm helping the other person ultimately, and in the end it's helping me too.
Yeah.
So
I ran into this metaphor. One of my old clients uses the metaphor, the phrase, I want to keep my side of the street clean in any relationship. And there's a lot that I like about that. Okay? What are the actions I need to do to be a good neighbor, to be a good citizen, to be a good daughter? But the thing is, I want to be the type of person that doesn't just keep my side of the street clean. I want to be the type of person that I will not only go to the block party, I will bring the weird Jell-O salad with shaved carrots in it that no one will probably eat, but I wanted to come to the block party and bring the very best of what I could. And I don't have an easy answer on boundaries or responsibility or monkeys or relational and how life is relationship. But I hope that we grapple with these questions and think about how they affect us. How do we release responsibility? What do we need to say yes to? What do we need to say yes to? And what do we need to say no to? And I'm getting the 2-minute signal, which means you guys get to ask questions or respond.
How long has it been since you made one of those Jell-O salads? I haven't seen that.
When's the last time you saw
asked
that one?
about
It was
Jell-O
like
salads.
mint green. It had marshmallows and stuff in it. I forget what they called that stuff, but yeah, it was like a staple of the 80s. Like you always went to the potluck and there it was. Yeah. Colleen.
Thank you.
Montana,
Can you hear
same
me?
thing, just further north.
This is where you have to like kiss it pretty much. I don't know. I have a loud voice. I think this is okay. Can you hear me okay?
It's the people on chat.
Okay. So I just had a reflection. We had the other slide up with the unhealthy boundaries and the healthy boundaries. And I've seen people I care about, who they get in these environments where everyone around them is having this same behavior of this unhealthy boundary, where they're working long hours, working weekends, nonstop. And because they're in this environment and everybody else is doing it, then it just becomes normal to them. And it's really, it's tragic. It's so sad to see. So that's one self-reflection that I've had recently. And the other is on the opposite. And I'm so thankful to this person because they demonstrated to me a very healthy boundary. And I was so taken aback by the response that, hey, no, actually, this is my boundary. And they explained why. And it was very logical and made sense. And I realized that I actually at that moment was overstepping. And I'm so thankful that they taught me this life lesson that, it's a really good example. And this is so important that we do set these healthy boundaries. So thank you to that person.
Yeah. All right, we have time for one more question. And then can you also go to the slide with magnesium on it, Chase? Because as the world's worst marketer, I forget that sometimes I need to show this slide too. So everyone, I am Magnesium, which is a program that now I also include Integrity Check with it. But it's 3 sessions of group coaching in January of 2023. And then we have monthly or quarterly check-ins. And I'm giving away 1 seat to anyone in here or on chat to be on that. So the workbooks are about to be printed. So it will open up. I'll make that drop here in a couple days and the like. So let's go with the old number between 1 and 1,000. And whoever comes closest to that number without going over, you are the lucky winner. I'm like, all of a sudden I just realized I'm like, oh crap. I didn't think this through very well, did I? I'll tell you what, if you would like that seat, please tell Chase what your guess is, because he knows the lucky number. And he will communicate with me who the winner is. Just find Chase within the next 15 minutes, okay?
Are you passing me a monkey?
Why, yes, I did just give Chase a monkey, and I walked right over his boundaries to get there, and I not only did that, I shoveled responsibility his way too. So, yes. Yeah. Clearly, and this is why I never do marketing. I'm terrible at this sort of thing. Okay, but y'all, thank you very much for coming and for interacting and listening and really starting to wade more deeply into these topics. They're not easy. Okay, but I think the only way that we as a human system improve is by having these kinds of conversations. So thank you all.